Hey, music lovers and seekers of untold stories, welcome to a journey back in time, to an era when rock and roll was raw, blues was the soul's language, and one man, with 6 strings and a Coricidin bottle, changed the sound of a generation. Today we're not just telling the story of a musician, we're diving into the blazing comet that was Howard Duane Allman. His was a life lived at full throttle, a genius unleashed, and a legend cemented in just 24 short years. So dim the lights, crank up the volume, and prepare to be captivated by the whirlwind that was Skydog. Duane Allman's life began not with a guitar in hand, but with a quiet yet profound tragedy. Born on November 20th, 1946 in Nashville, Tennessee, he was the elder son of Willis Allman, a promising U.S. Army lieutenant, and Geraldine Allman, a woman whose resilience would define their small family. Just a little over 2 years later, on December 26, 1949, their world shattered. While living near Norfolk, Virginia, Willis Allman, a decorated World War II non-commissioned officer, was brutally murdered in an armed robbery. The perpetrator, a former serviceman named Michael Robert Buddy Green, whom Willis had befriended earlier that day, was later apprehended, convicted, and shockingly pardoned in 1972. This unspeakable loss at such a tender age undoubtedly cast a long, dark shadow over Duane and his younger brother Greg, born just a year after him. Imagine the weight of that absence, the unanswered questions, the raw grief that would shape 2 young boys. Their mother, Geraldine, known affectionately as Mama A, was a force of nature. To retrain as an accountant and provide for her sons, she made a difficult decision, sending Duane and Greg to the Castle Heights Military Academy in Lebanon, Tennessee. The brothers absolutely despised the strict, regimented environment, a stark contrast to the freedom their souls craved. By 1957, the family had moved to Daytona Beach, Florida, where the boys attended Seabreeze High School. This was a pivotal shift from the structured discipline of military school to the burgeoning counterculture scene of Florida. Their earliest forays into music began in Nashville during summer visits to their grandmother. It was there that Greg picked up the basics of guitar from a neighbor. In 1960, Greg saved enough money to buy his first guitar, a Japanese-made Teisco Silvertone. Duane, meanwhile, opted for a Harley 165 motorcycle. It's fascinating to note that despite being left-handed, Duane played guitar right-handed. His interest in Greg's guitar quickly grew, and the brothers often squabbled over the instrument until fate intervened. Duane wrecked his motorcycle and traded it for a Silvertone of his own. Their mother, ever supportive, eventually bought Duane a Gibson Les Paul Jr., a guitar that would later become synonymous with his iconic sound. But what truly ignited the spark? In Nashville, the brothers found their musical epiphany at a rhythm and blues concert, where they witnessed the legendary blues guitarist B.B. King perform. Duane, utterly mesmerized, turned to Greg and declared, "We gotta get into this." From that moment, there was no looking back. Duane was a natural, a prodigy in the making. He learned to play with astonishing speed, quickly surpassing Greg's nascent skills. They began performing publicly in 1961, joining or forming several local groups. Around this time, Duane, ever the rebel, dropped out of school to focus entirely on his guitar. His first band, the Escorts, even opened for the Beach Boys in 1965 before dissolving. Some Escorts members went on to form the Allman Joys. After Greg graduated high school in 1965, the Allman Joys began touring throughout the Southeast, eventually settling in Nashville. The band later rebranded themselves as Hourglass and moved to Los Angeles in early 1967. In Los Angeles, Hourglass recorded 2 albums for Liberty Records. However, the band quickly grew frustrated. Liberty tried to market them as a pop act, completely ignoring their fervent desire to play blues. This creative clash led to Hourglass disbanding in early 1968. Duane and Greg returned to Florida, where they played on demos with the 31st of February, a folk rock group featuring drummer Butch Trucks. This period of frustration and exploration was crucial. It allowed Duane to hone his craft, understand the pitfalls of the music industry, and solidify his commitment to the blues. Duane Allman's destiny, however, lay not just in forming bands, but in shaping the very sound of American music as a session musician. His first major recording session took place in early 1966 at Nashville's RCA Studio B. But it was his work with Rick Hall, owner of Fame Studios in Muscle Shoals, Alabama, that truly put him on the map. Hall took notice of Allman through Hourglass's albums and a subsequent Hourglass session at FAME in early 1968. In November 1968, Hall bought Allman's contract for $10,000. Allman, tired of studio limitations, finally got to play on his first album as a full-fledged session musician with Wilson Pickett. Allman's work on Pickett's album, Hey Jude, 1968, not only secured him a full-time session position at Muscle Shoals, but also captured the attention of other musicians, most notably Eric Clapton. Clapton later famously recounted, "I remember hearing Wilson Pickett's Hey Jude and being just blown away by the solo at the end. I had to know immediately who that was." Allman's performance on Hey Jude so impressed Jerry Wexler, a producer and executive at Atlantic Records, when Hall played it for him over the phone, that Wexler immediately bought Allman's recording contract from Hall. Wexler recognized Allman's extraordinary talent and wanted to utilize him in sessions with Atlantic's R&B artists. At Muscle Shoals, Allman's guitar graced recordings for an astonishing array of artists, including Clarence Carter, King Curtis, Aretha Franklin, Laura Nyro, Otis Rush, Percy Sledge, Johnny Jenkins, Boz Scaggs, Delaney and Bonnie, Doris Duke, and jazz flutist Herbie Mann. This period was a crucible for Duane, allowing him to absorb a vast spectrum of musical styles and hone his improvisational skills to a razor's edge. The genesis of the Allman Brothers Band was, as Duane himself put it, very slowly. He had been jamming with Barry Oakley and Dickie Betts in Jacksonville. J-Mo joined him from Muscle Shoals. Greg was in California, and Butch Trucks was in Jacksonville. They began practicing and building songs together over several months. They needed a singer, and Greg was the perfect fit. 2 weeks after Greg returned from California, they headed to New York and recorded. The band performed live even before their debut album was released in November 1969. An almost prophetic moment occurred in January 1969. During an early recording session with Aretha Franklin in New York, Allman attended Fillmore East as an audience member to watch Johnny Winter perform. He turned to Jimmy Johnson, another Muscle Shoals guitarist, and declared that within a year he would be on that very stage. By December of that year, the Allman Brothers Band were indeed playing at the Fillmore. Coincidentally, the Fillmore East shows recorded for the Allman Brothers' seminal At Fillmore East album in March 1971, often considered the band's magnum opus, also happened to be with Johnny Winter. This wasn't just a lucky break. It was a testament to Duane's unwavering belief in his band's potential and his own raw talent. The Allman Brothers Band's self-titled debut album was recorded in New York in September 1969 and released a few months later. Despite its raw power and innovative sound, it failed to chart initially. Undeterred, the band embarked on relentless touring, a grueling schedule that allowed them to forge an almost telepathic musical connection. During this continuous touring, work began on their second album, Idlewild South had studios in Macon and Miami, Atlantic South Criteria Studios, with a small portion recorded in New York. Idlewild South, primarily produced by Tom Dowd, was released in August 1970 and became the band's breakthrough, finally landing them on the Billboard charts. Then came a collaboration that etched Duane Allman's name into rock history forever. After a concert in Miami in August 1970, which was attended by Eric Clapton and other members of Derek and the Dominoes, the two bands returned to Criteria Studios in Miami. The Dominoes were in the midst of recording their masterpiece, Layla, and other assorted love songs. What followed was an electrifying, spontaneous jam session between members of both bands. Allman and Clapton, two guitar titans, stayed up all night, swapping riffs and favorites, discovering a deep, almost primal connection. Clapton later wrote in his autobiography that he and Allman were inseparable during those Florida sessions, referring to Allman as the musical brother I'd never had but wished I had. Allman's contributions to the Layla album are legendary. He played on most of its tracks, delivering some of his most celebrated and recognizable work. Despite Clapton offering him a permanent spot, Allman's loyalty to the Allman Brothers Band remained unwavering. He never toured with Derek and the Dominoes, though he did make at least 2 guest appearances with them. On December 1st, 1970, at Curtis Hickson Hall in Tampa, and the following day at the Onondaga County War Memorial in Syracuse, New York. Allman himself explained the dynamic of their collaboration. Clapton played the Fender parts, while he played the Gibson parts. The Fender had a brighter sound, while the Gibson produced a power shriek. This distinction perfectly illustrates their complementary styles, each bringing a unique texture to the iconic album. The Allman Brothers continued their ascendancy, recording at Fillmore East in March 1971. This live album was a monumental success, remaining on the charts for weeks and cementing their reputation as one of the most powerful live acts in rock history. Even amidst the band's burgeoning success, Allman continued to contribute session work to other artists' albums whenever he could, often receiving cash payments with no recording credits, making a complete compilation of his work nearly impossible. This speaks volumes about his humility and his pure love for playing music, unconcerned with fame or official recognition. Allman was renowned for his long, melodic, and captivating guitar solos. During this formative period, 2 of his most significant influences were jazz legends Miles Davis and John Coltrane. He stated that he had diligently listened to Davis's Kinda Blue for 2 years, absorbing its nuanced improvisations. Allman's distinctive electric slide guitar sound matured and evolved into the musical vernacular of what would become known as Southern rock. His pioneering style was embraced by countless other slide guitarists, including bandmate Dickie Betts, after Allman's passing, Derek Trucks, Gary Rossington of Leonard Skynyrd, and Joe Walsh. Duane even taught a young Don Felder how to play slide, further illustrating his generosity and influence. His slide work wasn't just technically brilliant, it was deeply soulful, evoking a wailing, almost vocal quality that connected directly to the emotional core of the blues. The story of how Duane Allman discovered and mastered the slide guitar is a moment of sheer serendipity and a testament to his innate genius. It happened on his birthday in 1968. At the time, he was recovering from a left elbow injury sustained in a horse riding accident. Greg brought him a birthday gift, the debut album by Taj Mahal, and a bottle of Coricidin cold medicine. Greg left the gifts on the porch and rang the doorbell, as Duane was still angry with him about the injury. "About 2 hours after I left, my phone rang," Greg recalled. Little brother, get over here now." Duane had emptied the pills from the Coricidin bottle, washed off the label, and was using the glass bottle as a slide, playing along to Taj Mahal's rendition of Statesboro Blues on the album, where the slide guitar was played by Jesse Ed Davis. Duane had never played slide before, Greg later said, but he just picked it up and just started burning. He was just a natural-born gifted person. That song, Statesboro Blues, became a cornerstone of the Allman Brothers Band's repertoire, and Duane's slide guitar became a pivotal element of their sound. Due to his initial use of the Coricidin pill bottle in the early 1970s, now out of production, replica Coricidin bottles are incredibly popular with slide guitarists who prefer its glassy feel and tone. This intimate anecdote captures the magic of a legend's genesis, a raw talent discovering a new voice in the most unexpected way. It's a reminder that sometimes the greatest innovations spring from simple everyday objects and an unyielding desire to create. Beyond the roaring guitars and electrifying performances, Duane Allman led a complex personal life, often shrouded by the whirlwind of his musical career. He had one daughter, Galadriel Allman, with Donna Rusman in 1969. Their relationship was brief, ending relatively early. He had an earlier relationship with Patty Chandley, which led to the birth of a daughter who was deaf. Duane married Patty Chandley in a spontaneous manner, driving to Daytona Beach to propose and then to South Carolina to get married. A friend of Duane's remarked that he was not a family man, suggesting the marriage may have been doomed from the start. These lesser-known aspects of his personal life paint a more nuanced picture, revealing the struggles and complexities of a man consumed by his art. The fact that one of his daughters was deaf is a particularly poignant detail, adding a layer of vulnerability and challenge to the life of a musician whose world revolved around sound. It highlights the private burdens carried by a public figure, a reminder that fame and talent don't exempt one from personal trials. Galadriel Allman, his daughter with Donna Rusman, published a poignant book in 2014, Please Be With Me, a song for my father, reflecting on her father, her mother, her family, and the culture of the 1960s. This book offers an invaluable intimate perspective on the man behind the music, a perspective that only a child could provide, grappling with the legacy of a father lost too soon. Then came the unthinkable. On October 29, 1971, while the band was on a break from touring and recording, Allman was riding his Harley-Davidson Sportster motorcycle at high speed on Hillcrest Avenue in West Macon. As he approached Bartlett Street, a flatbed crane truck unexpectedly stopped at the intersection, forcing him to swerve sharply. He collided with either the rear of the truck or the ball on the crane, throwing him from his motorcycle. The bike then landed on top of him, sliding for another 90 feet, 27 meters, with him pinned underneath, crushing his internal organs. He was alive upon arrival at the hospital, but despite immediate emergency surgery, he succumbed to his severe internal injuries several hours later. Allman's death occurred just after the release and initial success of the At Fillmore East album, a cruel twist of fate that silenced a rising star at his zenith. Allman's funeral was held on Monday, November 1st, 1971, at Snow's Memorial Chapel in Macon, Georgia. The chapel was overflowing with family and friends, and many musicians who had been a part of Allman's life were there to mourn him. Record producer Jerry Wexler delivered the eulogy, praising Allman's musical achievements, his tireless dedication to Southern gospel, country, and blues, and the place he had earned alongside great black musicians and blues singers from the South. The band, along with others, played several songs, concluding with a communal rendition of the Southern spiritual Will the Circle Be Unbroken, a favorite of the band. Following Allman's funeral and a few weeks of mourning, the remaining 5 members of the Allman Brothers Band decided to carry on, resuming live performances and completing the recording work that had been interrupted by Allman's death. They titled their next album Eat a Peach in tribute to Allman's response when a reporter asked him, "How are you helping the revolution?" Allman replied, "I'm playing a piece of music for peace, and every time I'm in Georgia, I eat a peach for peace. But you can't help the revolution, because there's only evolution. I'm a musician, and a musician doesn't care about anything but playing music." Released as a double album in February 1972, Eat a Peach featured one side of live and studio tracks with Allman, two sides of the sprawling Mountain Jam, recorded with Allman at the same time as at Fillmore East in March, and one side of tracks from the remaining 5 members of the band. It was a poignant farewell and a powerful continuation. Tragically, Barry Oakley, the Allman Brothers Band's bassist, died less than 13 months later, also at the age of 24, in a remarkably similar motorcycle accident involving a city bus just 3 blocks from the site of Allman's fatal accident. Oakley was laid to rest beside Allman at Rose Hill Cemetery in Macon, Georgia, an eerie and heartbreaking echo of a life cut short. The loss of 2 core members, both at such a young age and in similar circumstances, cemented a sense of tragic destiny around the band. Duane Allman's vast and varied session work and his leadership role in the Allman Brothers Band can be fully appreciated in 2 posthumous Capricorn releases, an anthology, 1972, and an anthology, Volume 2, 1974. Several archival releases of live Allman Brothers Band performances from the Duane era also continue to emerge, ensuring his incredible playing reaches new generations. His influence lives on in countless tributes and honors. Shortly after Allman's death, Ronnie Van Zant of Lynyrd Skynyrd dedicated their iconic song Free Bird to Allman's memory, a powerful and lasting tribute from one Southern rock legend to another. In 1973, 4 Hines Junior College students carved the massive letters "Remember Duane Allman" into a peach-shaped dirt embankment alongside Interstate 20 in Mississippi. This inscription endured for over 10 years, a spontaneous monument to his impact. In 1998, the Georgia State Legislature passed a resolution designating a section of State Highway 19, U.S. Route 41, in Macon as the Duane Allman Boulevard in his honor. This route passes near the Allman Brothers Band Museum, the Big House, where the band once lived, and the H&H restaurant, where band members frequently dined, a tangible connection to his history. In 2013, the 7-disc box set Skydog, capturing Allman's guitar mastery, was released with the help of his daughter, Galadriel Allman, offering a comprehensive collection of his astounding body of work. Duane Allman was ranked 2nd in Rolling Stone magazine's 2003 list of the 100 greatest guitarists of all time, second only to Jimi Hendrix. In 2011, he was ranked 9th, and in 2023, he was ranked 10th, consistently recognized as one of the absolute titans of the instrument. His guitar tone, achieved with a Gibson Les Paul and 2 Marshall 50-watt bass amplifiers, has been hailed by guitar players as one of the greatest of all time. This specific setup, particularly the use of bass amplifiers for guitar, contributed to the thick, rich, and often overdriven tone that became his signature. And that wraps up today's video. If this video resonated with you, please give it a like, leave a comment with your feedback, and subscribe to stay updated on upcoming videos. Appreciate you watching.